You're listening to an audio recording of an article written by Alison Richards, the Food Safety Girl, originally published in the Jamaica Observer. The title of this article is Food Recalls: What Every Consumer Needs to Know. This article focuses on helping consumers understand the purpose of food recalls, the different types, and the practical steps to take when recalls occur. With the recent recalls in our local market and the clear knowledge gap among consumers on how to respond, this article aims to demystify food recalls, what they mean, how they work, the different types, and the steps Jamaicans should take to stay protected. Food is at the center of our lives, but sometimes the very products meant to nourish us can pose unexpected dangers. Around the world, recalls have become increasingly common, with eggs, shrimp, ice cream, and even soda pulled from supermarket shelves in just the last year. For Jamaica, this issue is especially important. Much of our food is imported, and recalls abroad often have a direct impact on what ends up in our homes. Yet, many consumers misunderstand what a recall actually means, leading to confusion, unnecessary fear, or worse, continued consumption of unsafe food. A food recall is the removal of unsafe products from the market to protect consumers. This may be triggered by contamination, incorrect labeling, or the presence of foreign objects. Crucially, recalls are usually limited to very specific production lots or batches, identified by numbers or dates printed on the packaging. Unfortunately, the public often assumes that a recall affects an entire brand, leading to unnecessary fear and avoidance of perfectly safe products. Understanding the lot-specific nature of recalls is essential for making informed decisions. Types of food recalls. Not all recalls are the same, and understanding the differences help consumers respond appropriately. Generally, recalls are categorized into three classes based on the level of risk to human health. Class 1 recall, the most serious type. These involve products that could cause serious health problems or death if consumed. Examples include foods contaminated with deadly pathogens like listeria or undeclared allergens such as peanuts. Class 2 recall. These involve products that may cause temporary or reversible health problems or where the risk of serious harm is remote. For instance, food with incorrect labeling of ingredients that are not major allergens may fall here. Class 3 recall, the lowest risk level. These recalls cover products that are unlikely to cause health problems but still violate regulations, such as minor labeling errors or packaging issues. By knowing the recall class, consumers can better gauge the urgency of action required. Even in Class 3 cases, however, it is important to follow instructions, as compliance helps strengthen the overall food safety system. The growing number of food recalls. The statistics tell a story of increasing vigilance and increasing risk. In 2024, regulators in the United States recorded nearly 300 recalls, a rise compared to the previous year. These recalls sickened almost 1,400 people, more than 400 of whom required hospitalization. Tragically, 19 people died, more than double the number of deaths reported in 2023. The financial cost was also staggering, with nearly $2 billion lost to withdrawn products, litigation, and brand damage. The majority of recalls were linked to undeclared allergens, followed closely by microbial contamination such as Salmonella, Listeria, and E. coli. Others were caused by chemical contamination, mislabeling, or foreign objects. System failure or better detection. The rising number of recalls has sparked debate. Does this mean that food systems are failing or that detection is improving? In reality, both perspectives are true. On one hand, advanced surveillance tools like whole genome sequencing allow regulators to pinpoint contamination sources with far greater precision than ever before. International databases connect outbreaks across borders, and many companies now issue precautionary recalls even before illnesses are confirmed. On the other hand, the fact that allergens remain the single leading cause of recalls and that the same pathogens and even the same companies appear repeatedly shows that weaknesses in labeling, sanitation, and supply chain management remain persistent. The global recall landscape and Jamaica's reality. Most recalls occur in developed countries such as the United States, Canada, and the United Kingdom, where regulators have the resources and technology to detect problems quickly. For Jamaica, this creates unique challenges. A significant portion of our food is imported from these markets, meaning that when products are recalled overseas, they may already be on our supermarket shelves. There is often a time lag between the announcement of an international recall and the withdrawal of affected products locally. Even more concerning, smuggling and informal trade bring in food products that bypass border inspections altogether. If a product under recall abroad enters the Jamaican market through unofficial means, local agencies may not even be aware of its presence and therefore cannot warn the public. In these cases, consumers are left completely unprotected. The impact is twofold. Recalls abroad can directly affect what we eat at home, and the gaps in communication or enforcement make us more vulnerable to unsafe products. This is why it is so important for Jamaicans to stay informed about international recalls, not just local alerts. What to do if a recall affects you? What should you do if you hear about a food recall? The first step is to verify whether the recall applies to the exact product in your home. This means checking the brand name, product description, lot number, and expiration date against the official recall notice. If your product matches, do not consume it. Instead, follow the instructions provided, which usually involve returning the item to the store for a refund or disposing of it safely in a sealed bag. After handling the recalled food, clean and sanitize any surfaces or utensils it touched. If you have already eaten the product, monitor your health closely. Symptoms such as diarrhea, vomiting, fever, or allergic reactions should not be ignored, and medical advice should be sought promptly, particularly for children, the elderly, pregnant women, and those with weakened immune systems. Consumer tips for local recall awareness. Consumer tips for food recall awareness. Consumers can also take preventive steps to reduce their risk. Purchasing food from regulated sources rather than informal or smuggled suppliers is one of the most effective protections. Staying informed by subscribing to recall alerts ensures you are not caught off guard. Finally, even outside of recall events, practicing safe food handling, washing hands, cooking food to the correct temperatures, and avoiding cross-contamination reduces the chance of illness. Conclusion. Food recalls are never pleasant news, but they play an essential role in protecting public health. The increase in recalls should be seen both as a sign that regulators are catching more problems and as a reminder that weaknesses remain in our global food system. For Jamaica, the lesson is especially clear. Because we depend heavily on imported food, and because smuggling remains a reality, consumers must be proactive. Understanding that recalls are lot specific, staying alert to both local and international alerts, and making smart choices about where food is purchased are critical steps. Ultimately, food safety is a shared responsibility. Regulators must enforce standards, industry must prioritize prevention, and consumers must remain informed and vigilant. When each part of the chain plays its role, we are all better protected and better able to trust the food that reaches our table. To learn more about food safety in Jamaica, follow the Food Safety Girl on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, and YouTube.